What's going on, horror fanatics? I'm Marcus. Welcome to our Shop 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel. In this video, I will be discussing I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025 and exploring the possibility of the film, implying that there is a third killer that went unrevealed based on some scenes in the film, including the mid-credits scene, as well as a scene that I spoke about in previous videos that was cut from the actual movie. If you're a fan of I Know What You Did Last Summer and other horror movie related content, shoot the video a like, it helps feed the YouTube algorithm. And if you are a new viewer of the channel, shoot that subscribe button followed by the bell icon for all content updates. Okay everyone, so in the lead up to the film releasing, we talked theories and videos, live streams, you name it. And one of my theories that I felt very strongly about heading in was that we would get multiple killers in this film, but not just two killers, which is what we got. I felt this movie would also go down the route of having three killers, two revealed and one of them going unrevealed. And after rewatching the film multiple times now, I feel the movie doubled down on this theory and I'm excited to get into it. I will say, these are way too early theories for a potential sequel that I do believe will follow up this movie, with one of them being a very hot take that some might find outlandish, though these thoughts and theories may be subject to change over time. Alright y'all, so let's dig into the mid-credit scene between Julie and Carla. We see that Julie has received a letter from the killer that has a picture of her and Carla in it, which is from I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, where they are sitting outside, waiting on Ty and Will to come get them for their trip to the Bahamas. The interesting thing about the picture is that we see an X across Carla's face, symbolizing that she is a target, along with a letter written on plain white paper and in black marker, reminiscent of Benwillis, that reads, "It's not over," which would imply that the new killing spree started by Ray and Stevie is just the beginning, or whoever wrote this is referencing to the events of Tower Bay or events that took place over the years that we haven't seen. I'll explain that part later. Now, I know some may think that this would be Stevie writing Julie in this moment, since we know that she is still alive and in the wind. However, I don't think that this is Stevie writing Julie, because when Ava mentions going to Julie for help, both Ray and Stevie are surprised because having Julie involved wasn't in the cards. Ray even says in the final act he thought Julie getting involved would be a problem. And we know that Stevie's motive was to get revenge on the newer characters of this movie, her friend group. So going after Julie or Carla wouldn't make sense for her character, especially since I would assume she doesn't even know who Carla is. Also, in the letter that was sent to Danica, Stevie uses a pen to write, not permanent marker. And given the similarities to Benwillis' letter that was sent to Julie in the original film, I believe this would be someone from Julie and Carla's past. The next scene that gives off the hint of a third killer is the sauna scene with Teddy. Now, initially I felt that the scene had no real purpose in the movie outside of being an homage to the ending of the original film, but after watching the scene play out, as well as some other scenes that come after this, I don't believe Ray or Stevie were the ones who wrote "You're next" on a steam room door as a message for Teddy, because shortly after that scene, we see both killers outside of Ray's bar, with Ray loading his truck with alcohol and Stevie on the phone trying to get a hold of the friend group. And we know that there is no real time gap in between these scenes, because Stevie even mentions how she cannot get a hold of Teddy, Danica, or Ava, even leaving a message on Danica's phone asking about how things with Pastor Judah went. She doesn't even know at this moment that the girls are trapped at the police station and Teddy is at the sauna, which would explain why he's not answering. Now, when Teddy enters the sauna and sits down, he's seen looking across the way at a person whose face we cannot see because of all the steam in the room. But you do see the legs of this person, which tells us that this is another man. Now, some of you would say, duh, Marcus, it is man. You know, it looks like an all-men's sauna. It looks like an all-men's steam room. But keep in mind, some facilities do allow men and women to be in the same steam room with certain rules attached. Could this unidentified male be the third killer? It's definitely possible, but if I am being honest, I don't think whoever is after Carla would be helping Ray and Stevie. I think they would be working alone. I just think that this scene is a subtle hint that there is a third killer out there. The next scene that would play into the idea of a third killer who is unrevealed, who is also not involved with Ray and Stevie, would be this scene from the trailers that was cut from the film. Now, for what I was told in regards to this scene, I apologize, I can't remember exactly who told me about this in one of my comment sections for one of my videos, so if you see this video, shout out to you. This was going to be the ending of the movie, where we would see Stevie at some type of lavish house after Ray had helped her fake her death, to where she ends up turning around, I assume after hearing a noise, where the fisherman bursts through the glass doors of the house, with the end credits rolling directly afterward. Though this was cut from the movie and it doesn't count, the fact that they were going to end the movie on a cliffhanger like that not only implies a third killer, but it also implies that the third killer isn't someone that Stevie knew. They weren't a part of her and Ray's killing spree. Now, some would say that this could have been a nightmare sequence for Stevie, similar to Juliejames at the end of the original film. And I admit, I thought the same, because I thought that the trailers were making Stevie too obvious of being the killer, that they were trying to trick us, and that she would end up being a final girl. But if this scene didn't get cut, with Stevie being one of the killers, then to me, this wouldn't be a nightmare sequence. This would be a sign of things to come for the sequel, with this third killer even coming after Stevie, along with the other characters who survived the film. I believe this scene was cut in favor of the mid-credit scene, where the implication of a third killer is well placed and adds to the mystery of who the killer could be. So if there is another killer out there that went unrevealed in this movie, who could it be? Given the familiar nature of the letter, a lot of us would assume that this could be the return of Benwillis, his son Will, or both. With Carla being the one who tried to get Julie and Will to hook up, it would make sense that he would target her as well as Julie, since him and his dad's plan to kill them both in the Bahamas failed. However, given the fact that their identities as killers were discovered, along with their bodies being retrieved from the Bahamas, as the newspaper article reads, add in the fact that this takes place before Grant Spencer takes over Southport and begins covering up the past and future events that make the town look bad to the upper class demographic that he is trying to appeal to, I don't think either one's death would be retconned in order for them to return, which is a bummer because I'm a fan of both, especially Will. Or should I call him Rufus? Because in the same newspaper clipping, if you look close enough to make out the wording, we get a fun fact that Will's real name is actually Rufus Humphrey Willis, not William Willis, like many of us assumed for so many years. Another option for the third killer would be someone completely random, someone that we have never seen before. And the reason why I believe this is a possibility is because when Julie is talking to Ava and is asked to come back to Southport for the town hall meeting to talk to the police, Julie said she made a promise to herself not to ever return to Southport, and that the cops didn't listen to her then and they won't now. That piece of dialogue is very interesting to me because this implies someone may have been sending Julie letters and threats in the aftermath of the Tower Bay murders, which would explain why her and Ray ended up falling out and why they were never really able to move past their trauma. Because we know before that, Julie and Ray wouldn't talk to the authorities to cover up them hitting Benwillis with Barry's car in 1997. This person could be a fan of the Tower Bay murder spree, or even someone who could be related to Carla's ex-boyfriend Ty, which would explain why her face is the only one X'd out of the photo, and is using the newer killing spree started by Ray and Stevie as their template to go after her and start a new killing spree, while using Stevie being in the wind as a crutch to cloak their true identity, since many would think that Stevie is the one behind everything. Now, this is where we get to the hot take part of possibilities for the third killer in this video, but given the fact that we now know that director Jennifer Caton Robinson swings some big old balls for a female, this may not be so outlandish of a take after all, as I believe the one, the only, Juliejames herself could be considered to be the third killer and the one who made up this letter for Carla herself. The reason why I believe Julie could be the third killer, or I think it at least should be taken into consideration, is because when you compare the letter that she received, along with the one that she left for Ava at the end of the movie at the hospital, it is eerily similar to how Benwillis wrote his letter to her in the original film. It is also worth mentioning that the picture of her and Carla was not seen on her mantle at her house. Only pictures of her old house in Southport and a picture of her, Helen, and Barry, with Ray being cut out of the photo, was seen, which is odd because you would think she would have this photo of her and Carla up there with the rest of them, considering their friendship, as well as her and Carla surviving the Tower Bay murder spree together. Whoever had this photo to send it would have had to have stolen it from her house, or would have already had it in their possession. And I believe it's the latter, considering Julie had motion-censored AI security to let her know who was lurking around her home. So if someone did steal it from her house, she would know this. But the next two clues breathe the most life into the theory, with the first one being Carla's face is the only one X'd out of the photo, not Julie's. If a killer is meant to be after Julie once again, especially if they wrote the letter out to her, why isn't her face X'd out too? And why not just send the letter and photo to Carla herself? If they found Julie, I'm sure they would have found Carla as well. Yet the most interesting clue of all may be the fact that when Julie arrives at Carla's, she is seen wearing a black ball cap, which is something that we have never seen the character don before in the franchise. And the only other person in the franchise out of all of the main characters to wear a hat that is somewhat similar to hers is Benwillis in the original. So when you take into account everything I have pointed out, along with the fact that director Jennifer Robinson is not afraid to turn our previous franchise heroes into full-blown villains, it would not be a surprise to me if she would take the biggest swing of all and turn Juliejames, our beloved final girl, into a killer. Now let's say Stevie is the one who sent the letter to Julie, with the only motives that I can think of would be revenge for getting involved and helping Ava out, as well as avenging Ray dying. The last character who could be the third possible killer that went unrevealed would be Hannah, Stevie's friend and member of Pastor Judah's church that we see at the beginning, who is also close to Sam Cooper, the victim of the accident. The reason I believe she could be an unrevealed killer is because of her close relationship with Stevie and Sam, as well as working at Ray's bar, because she was the one who gave Stevie the okay to go with the friend group that night while she took back the empties from the engagement party back to Ray's bar. Even though Stevie says she didn't mention the accident to Hannah when Ava asked her about it, I don't believe she was telling the truth in that moment, because in my opinion, Hannah was the one who told Sam about Stevie going with the friends to Reaper's Curve to watch the fireworks, which prompted him to steal Pastor Judah's truck to go there and ensure that Stevie didn't relapse, because from what we know and see, Stevie didn't use her phone to contact Sam, and she didn't mention him showing up. So who else would know that she was there for him to know where to find her? She also says in her interaction with Ava and Danica at the church that she was sorry for their loss of loved ones, when in reality, only one person who was close to any of them died at that point, that the group knew of, and that would be Wyatt, Danica's new fiance. Tyler wouldn't be considered a close friend or a loved one since Ava hardly knew her, and Ava didn't know in that moment that Milo was killed. She also recommends the book the pastor gives to Ava about dealing with grief, as that's the same book that he gave to her as a way to deal with her grief over Sam's death, adding the fact that Stevie faked her own death and that we don't see Hannah after the church scene. It's not impossible to think that she's hiding Stevie and will be the one to help her go after Ava, Danica, Julie, and Carla in the sequel. And given how this new I Know What You Did Last Summer film is geared more towards women, it would not surprise me at all if we get two female killers donning the slicker in the next film. But alright everyone, that is it for this I Know What You Did Last Summer theory video. Leave a comment down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts on the theory. Do you think the mid-credit and sauna scenes from the movie hint at a third potential killer? If you do believe so, who do you think the unrevealed killer will be? And will they be working alongside Stevie, or will they be working alone, with their main focus being going after the remaining legacy characters in Julie and Carla, while Stevie focuses on killing Ava and Danica? Once again, I am Marcus, and this is Isham 6 Times YouTube Horror Movie Channel. Follow me on all of my social media platforms. Thank you all for watching.